the Irish team have used that time, which, you know, it is difficult, especially when it's as extended as a year, you know, to be able to keep the structure and keep a plan in place. Like, you know, a lot of credit's got to go to the backroom team.
Yeah, and but listen, a lot of credit's got to go to the girls and the squad in general. I think, you know, you could easily get frustrated, and probably, you know, motivation is always going to get affected when your calendars changing all over the place. And, you know, in fairness, that didn't happen as much for the men, so that must have been very tough for all of you guys, just trying to, you know, stay driven. But as you say, to put that score up on Wales, but also to keep them to 0, you know, that's a great springboard going into the French game, because the French would have beaten them by around 50 points, a little bit more. So you'd imagine this French game, you know, it should be a big challenge, but you know, it's one that we're all looking forward to, I think, after a great start for Ireland.
You have to look at the Wales as a team before you can kind of say, well, France put this on Wales and Ireland put this on Wales. Like, Wales are in a bit of a distorted state at the minute. Like, they lost their skills coach Rachel Taylor a week before the first game against France. They lost their main scrum half player who just returned from injury, and she got injured again, so she was gone. And this is all a week before they played France, who are an excellent team. So like, Rachel Taylor had 67 caps for her country. She was captain in 2017 World Cup. Like, what happened that she walked away? The camp, everything can't be happy in camp there. So it's probably a little bit of state of flux. But like, France took their chances, Ireland took their chances, and you got to build on that. You can't fault any Welsh team member for the effort they put into the pitch, and like, they try so hard, and everyone does, no matter what the scoreline is. No one has gone out there and not performed to the best of their abilities.
Definitely, you can only play what's in front of you as well, you know, and Ireland certainly did that. And I suppose another player, I think, who ran the show very well was Hannah Tyrrell at 10, and really that's kind of been a position for Ireland that's chopped and changed quite a while over a number of seasons. I think there's been 8 different players who've been in and out in that position. So do you think that it would be kind of positive for the team to have maybe a bit of consistency there in selection, or how would you feel about that?
So Hannah got her first start at 10 in the last game of last year's Six Nations against Italy, and she performed quite well that day. And then she got another start here against Wales weekend, and she performed really well, and the team were taking over and it was fine. But then they switched her out and brought in their ninth out half in Stacey Flood to try and manage the game. So I think it'd be great to have Hannah play the full 80 or at least 75 there, to try and get her more embedded into the game and keep that consistency, because if the players around you are trying to play off a different 10 every time, it's very difficult to get a bit of momentum. Like, what are they going to do next? Like, teams take over and teams play well when they know what their 10 wants from them. And if that's a different person, they think differently. So I think that's something that it'd be great if Hannah had stayed there, or at least keep some form of consistency, because they have really quality 10s in the squad. So I think from a squad point of view, they need to ensure that they keep with a 10 that the management keeps and ensures and everyone has confidence in.
Yeah, like, I think managing that rotation, but also in certain key positions, you know, people need to be kind of nailed down there for a number of games to get, like, you know as well, better than anyone, I think we all in agreement that, you know, the halfbacks along with 1 or 2 other positions, like, to get up to your top form, they certainly are one of those positions you need to get.
Yeah, repeated. Absolutely. Like, you know, from the halfbacks, how they set up the team, it can be slightly different from week to week. And as you said, off a certain 9, you know, the forwards might have a certain amount of width. You know, we were talking earlier in the show about, you know, how Leinster moved the ball quickly. You could have a 9 who plays a different style. How you time your run is different. It's the exact same at out half. You know, the connection you're building through the week, that builds up week to week. And, you know, as you get into the 3rd, 4th, 5th game of a competition, you've built a wealth of knowledge. If you're chopping and changing, you're just literally chopping up that wealth of knowledge, and it's not going to carry into something that can win you a competition. Yeah,
definitely. I think the standout performer again, and listen, I think that there was brilliant performances across the board, but a really exciting young talent, Bevan Parsons, with 2 tries, a bit of a, you know, the female kind of equivalent of a Jordan Larmour in ways, a really electric runner in that, and I'm sure you're happy to see her perform very well.
Oh, she was class, unbelievable. Her first try, I think it got the Irish team got a solid performance or a solid platform from the scrum on the right hand side. great control at the back of the scrum by Junior, and you can just see the want to get that ball out to that left wing. She was nearly tackled by a winger, Wilkins, who earned her 50th cap, tried to come across to stop her, and it was like she wasn't even there. Bevan accelerated into that contact, continued on through, and just watch her eyes or her body language. She is focused on that try line. She's actually focused on the post. Like, she is going.
White line fever. She's not passing to anyone.
She is not passing.
She's between Eimear kicking it away and Bevan running herself. I don't know if anyone else will get a pass on that team.
Well, like, no one's actually going probably near Bevan at this stage, so she's gone that far. Like, she is some speed and she's some talent.
Yeah, and I suppose, like, after you've been in camp over the past year and that, what's it been like having those sevens players in the mix? How do you feel that the integration there has been?
Yeah, like, there's always been a consistent flow of 7 players into the 15s squad, because it's women's 7s and 15s all one programme. It's interesting to see how they attack, how they defend. It's a different game, and I suppose they have to integrate into us and we have to integrate into how they attack as well, and you kind of have to run off them. They bring a wealth of knowledge from the sevens arena, and their skills are quite good. Like, they're there in the shop window with the IRFU on a daily basis. They're there running through their video analysis. They have the ability to get extra skills in because they're there. They're basically our full-time professionals because they're paid to play rugby. And yes, the sevens circuit is on at the minute, but they're still in doing the sevens training. There's still a squad of girls there who are available to play sevens whenever it may return. And then, because there's some crossover to 15s, they've come in, they've been involved in internal games as well. So it's not good for a squad to be training with 27 people there. So by buffering up the squad with the extra sevens players coming in, you have 30 players there, 32 players there. So it's 15 against 15. So, like, when you're attacking against a team, when you're attacking against a team that's 12, you're like, oh, this is great. It's anything that's unopposed as well.
Fall in love with yourself very quickly.
Oh yeah, like, not that that's ever happened. I'm like, eat on the ground in a rock or something. So, like, it's very easy to think that you're class. So by bolstering up the squad with the sevens girls, it's great to get bodies in the pitch just to try and establish, well, where is the space? What are we trying to do? What are we trying to manipulate?
Even for the competitiveness in training, 100%. It's crucial. You need to be, you know, if you're the second choice guy or girl, there's nothing better going head to head, 15 on 15 and getting the better of them and going, I'm going to do it again the next day, and suddenly there's a bit of movement then between the perceived seconds and the first. If you don't have that with 15 on 15, it's 15 on 12. It just doesn't have the competitiveness in training.
And, like, give me my shot. Like, I want to get this chance.
Absolutely.
Like, I want to take on my opposite number. I want to give this a go. And I want to show that actually I'm not second choice. I'm actually rivaling for the first choice here. And that's what extra players brought in. They push everyone on. They make everyone better because you want to play. So that's what they bring.
I think the 7 system, in fairness, you know, it has been worth its weight in gold in a way for both the men's, I think, and the women's, really, because, you know, some of the guys that have come through in the men's have been, you know, outstanding talents once they've kicked on. You've got, like, you know, Shane Daly, then, you know, in Munster and you know, in Leinster you've got the likes of Will Connors and Jimmy O'Brien, Hugo Keenan now, you know, mainstay on the team, and they went through that system. I think you can see from the women as well, the ones that have that little exposure and then they merge back in, it seems to have been really positive.
Yeah, and I think to add to that, you'd want kind of maybe a talent ID officer rather than just taking a girl from a 15 setup and then putting her into a 7 setup and then taking her out of the 7 setup and putting her back into 15s. Like, if there was a talent ID officer coordinator for the ages of 17 to 23, that could be much more beneficial, or like a development squad or a development tournament there to help these girls transition to. Like, Bevan was playing under 18s in 2018. She was outside centre for Connacht, and she scored 3 tries in the final for them to win that game, one of which was like a run the length of the pitch, something she's completely used to these days. So, like, if you have a programme there in order to enable her to get better at a 15s player rather than just be put into a 7 setup to learn the 7s, and the strength and condition involved in that game is very different. You have to be much more lean, you have to be able to move a lot more, there's a lot more space. So I think it's a different kind of speed as well that's needed in it. There's not as much space on a 15s pitch as the 7s. You kind of look up and go, there's 30 bodies.
Is 7s something that you'd like to see come into schools in maybe like the last term of school, you know, in boys or girls schools? Do you think it's...
I think it's a nice introduction to rugby as overall, because it's not the technicality of a line-out, of a scrum, or what positions you have to play. It just,
if you don't have the physicality as well, it can be quite a good intro. You know, for certain girls, obviously you're talking about Bevan there as an example, but like, she obviously kicked on early-ish, but there was probably a stage where she was so talented but probably not physically as strong as the other girls as well, and I think that process can be a good one to kind of ease them in.
Yeah, and it's like that. It's not as many people on the pitch, so the space is there. So there's an ability for them to run into the gaps, run into the space, and identify it. And I think that's one key thing to build in the 15s game, is that it's heads up rugby. And in sevens, you need to look heads up and see where is the space, and to bring that aspect from sevens to 15s could be very helpful towards them building on to move on to 15s.
For sure. And who else impressed you for the Irish team? Because I know, listen, everyone can fall a bit guilty of just talking about try scores and this and that. I know the two girls got 2 each, but a lot of hard work went in around the park. You're saying the scrum went great. Who else impressed you for Ireland?
Dorothy Wall, hands down. She's playing 6. She made 8 tackles. She was second highest meters gained on the pitch. She's a wrecking ball. She thinks she's the highest number of tackles, 24 tackles over the game. You want to get that girl on the ball, and you want that girl to be in that defending challenge as well. I think she's one of the prime examples that came through the player pathway from fettered girls rugby right through. She represented Munster underage, senior, and then into the 7s and 15s programme as well. And she's just been a talent.
Well, what do you think that, after such a positive day at the office for Ireland, what do you think they need to get right to beat France?
Reduce the penalty count. I definitely think reduce the penalty count and then hold on to the ball without getting turned over. With a couple of times there, I don't know if the late arrivers or if people weren't as effective at the breakdown. They need to come in, they need to clear out that player, get rid of the threat, or else maybe it's the person who's presenting the ball needs to work a bit harder on the ground. Because what enabled Ireland to score their tries in the first 30-35 minutes was that quick ball. It was quick ball, goal ball. They turned it like it was 1, 2, 3 gone. Because they're so fit, they're getting set early. So because they're fit, you need quick ball. And if the rucks are slow, it slows everything down. It takes momentum out of it. And you can see there, even from Eimear's try, her second one was quick ball. She was there and she hit the line flat and she was through that gap. So Eimear's good at identifying the space or the gap for herself and picking out a few mismatches. And she was
going herself and not passing.
Kicking the ball away then. yeah. If she's taking everything out of the ball, she's not going to score. She'll kick it.
She did look to pass, in fairness. And it was like a dummy pass.
She was never passing that ball. You're joking me.
Don't you worry, we'll keep her feet right on the ground today.
I think the celebration picture is one that will never be left down.
Yeah, true. She was loving that. Well, in fairness, listen, we're delighted to see it back on again, and it's just great to see that they kicked off in such style. So fair play to them. Wish them, certainly best of luck.
House of Rugby Ireland, here on Joe. Game changed.